draft actually a lot better.
I think the Gragas is kind of cool, right? Because if you think about the fact that the Varus will need some peel, the Thresh can certainly, you know, throw a flay in one direction and get rid of a priority target, whereas Gragas can throw a giant barrel on the ground and get rid of everyone. And maybe that's what you want up against the Renekton in a set.
This actually happened. Like, we've actually seen this a few times where teams mess around with flipping the matchups. We might actually just see a role swap here, depending on how T1 wants to play this, because they waited till the last second to swap, but they got out-swapped by KT Rolster. So let's see what happens when we get in-game.
I wonder who was actually intentionally wanting what they actually got, as it is going to be Dove on the Renekton, and I like that a lot more. I think that Set has been struggling a little bit in the mid lane, also on the top side of the map. Ever since he lost the extra mobility on the Stridebreaker, it hasn't necessarily been the same Set that we've seen before, but still does have the same ultimate and will be able to make things as dangerous as they were in the past. Plus, you know, we've seen it used to great effect by KT themselves.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Faker on the rise again. You know, he's probably going to be playing this in the mid lane. I don't think we are going to see that complete swapping, but only time will tell. And I'm very, very excited to see if KT can pull this off, too, because we know how good Dove is on both the Renekton and the Set. They give him the Renekton in this case. He's going to be matched up against Faker. Which looks like Faker is going to be going to the mid lane, so not a shocker, but could have been, you know, complete human swap there.
I don't think that anyone expected the Rise to not go to Faker, but that might be my historical bias coming in here just a little bit. But it is going to be Doran on the Set, which is an interesting one. It's going to be a difficult matchup into the Jace. I think Canna will have priority for quite some time in that lane. We'll see whether Doran's going to survive. Has taken the fleet footwork just to make sure that he gets a bit of health back as often as possible.
The stats for Kana for Jace, it's actually his best champion by a large margin. He's 4-1 on it, and I think the most memorable games we've had for Kana are on the Jace, where he controls lane, doesn't have isolated deaths, is impactful in team fights. So I do really like the choice considering the player, and we're already seeing a little bit of a departure from T1's drafting style from weeks prior.
Yep. You can see Carrier having a bit of fun, spamming his old team, of course, in Dragon X, or DRX as they are now. As Blank is going to be getting a bit of a leash here on his Brambleback. How did I forget the name of the Brambleback? What is wrong with me? Having a rough time here as KT will just meander down towards this lane and join T1, as I think that Gumushi and Carrier should have a fair bit of control in this lane in the early stages, and you can see Carrier already playing fairly far up at this point in time.
They have a lot of burst potential, so every single time you get hit as Noah, you're going to be really, really regretting your positioning. Gumushi will just continue to threaten. Faker is actually 0-2 on the Rise this season, but it has been in kind of wonkier games where T1 really fell behind early in a more snowball-y meta.
Yep.
So I think that's that. You shouldn't read too much into it.
There's a body slam from Carrier, though, as Crashdown comes out from Harp, and they're just getting bullied out of this lane. Of course, level 2 gained from T1, as Faker going to take a little bit of damage, but is able to really stave off the Croc at this stage of the lane phase, as Rise just does quite well, just as far as harassment is concerned into these melee matchups in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is what I was mentioning. Kana is Jace's by far his best this season. He's 14-6 on a career here in the LCK. And, you know, I really enjoy watching him play. I think he's got a really strong mastery of how to engage on the champion. His laning is very safe. He's no con Jace, but, you know.
I feel like he's very similar to Rich in the fact that they can really skew a game by how well they play the Jace.
Yeah.
We have a few of those, as Dove's going to slice his way out of danger, but he's still in a fair bit of danger if he decides to stick around in this lane.
Such a strong pick, too, because Faker is really good at Jason mid, and also it really denies your ability to play Gnar. Like, that was kind of a soft ban on the Gnar, which I think KT's comp would have been pretty happy to run.
Yeah, true. I think Gnar and Rumble definitely some best friends, so that's a good call.
Yeah, I think the drafting here is actually really solid for T1 across the board.
Yeah. And, you know, we can draw some conclusions. Of course, we do need to address the elephant in the room a little bit here. Haven't done so much as we've got into the game, as the coaching staff has been rearranged almost entirely. as we do have Zephyr and Daney being their contracts being terminated and now announced here today. So
it's
wondering how it's going to affect them, because doing that on the day of the telecom war is certainly a bold move.
It certainly is, and it's also, you know, we're starting to get through the early parts of round 2, so you don't have a lot of time left before playoffs, and what will be a grueling Worlds Gauntlet that T1 will have to go through, very likely. So it's a big risk, right? And it could be the best decision ever. I mean, at some point, you know, the coaching staff, you know, wasn't living up to what T1 wanted, and there was a bit of a breaking point there, right? But this could be the best decision ever, or it could really come back to bite them, and only time will tell. Like, we can't make that prediction today.
Exactly, and you know, we only know what some people have said, as we are just going to be interrupted as a bit of a fight breaks out. Ignite very early onto Gumayusi here on the bottom side. Harp pretty itchy on the trigger finger, has already blown the flash though, and they do get it out of the Varus, which is extraordinarily high value, and I don't even think, yeah, no, actually Blank did come over and cleared out the vision, so they do know to play a little bit more defensively here.
Faker is also going to have to really toe the line here for just a second, because, yeah, he does back off. He knows that Blank is nearby, and he was very far up in the lane.
Yep.
He's going to be fine, though. See all the pings going down here for T1. Really doing a great job of controlling the vision.
That's a good back to stop there from Doran, really wasting a bit of time of Canna. Yep. The set doing very well in this lane against the Jace, whereas Dove struggling so much against Faker's Rise, really keeping him shoved in.
I mean, it's, like you said, a historical pick for Faker, and it's not the greatest matchup for Renekton, especially early on. And he hasn't been given any help or opportunities with this Rumble pick.
Yeah, the Renekton really has been picked for his late game prowess here in this particular comp. Wolf, obviously, that's sort of how it works.
He's going to be great in these early skirmishes, regardless of the laning phase. He's significantly behind now is Doran.
Yeah, we know that there is a Diana here as Doran's in trouble. Gonna have to flash, as doesn't even Haymaker in time, and First Blood goes over to Owner as Blank just lies in wait. Waiting for a back timing perhaps, as Dove and Harp both moving up. The Diana's gone home, and now Canna does have flash, is gonna use it quite early, only level 5 for Blank as the acceleration gate comes out. There's the flash forward, and that's a beautiful attract repel to guarantee the kill, and it goes to Dove, which is massive for KT.
That was so well played on both sides. Kind of flashing the Harpoon there, knowing that if he gets slowed, it's certain death, but still not enough, because we did see that attract repel, like you said, come at the exact last possible second that it was actually going to guarantee the stun there.
Oh,
Keria.
Noah's going to face check. That's a lot of burst damage.
That's Gragas for you.
Yep, Ignite goes down, the flash out, and Keria's just got this. I think he's just dead. The heal comes through. Oh my goodness, holds it for just the right amount of time. And Noah will survive, but he'll lose this entire minion wave, so it is still absolutely catastrophic.
He lives, but he ain't winning. That's for sure. It's going to be an extra plate here, potentially 2 for Gumayusi. All the wave denied, as you mentioned. Look at all these minions going down. Feels so bad. And if he actually overextends here, he might still die. Like,
Owner's here. Exactly right. This is so dangerous. As Harp's going to come through. Blank is going to set up, but I mean, it's really rough for Noah. He does still have 1 potion left and 1 ticking, so
yeah, looks like he's actually going to be okay. Depends on if they commit all the way. Here comes Wonder.
Here comes the Realm Warp as well, as Blank's in a bit of trouble. There's the Equalizer right on top of Faker, but they immediately get rid of Blank. 4 people here on the bottom side. It looks like they are going to be okay for now. Moonfall comes in and gets so much value, as T1's dive was beautiful, but now there's a very angry Crocodile. They trade back 1. Keria looks to try and limp away throughout the enemy jungle, and it looks like Dove will just settle for all these minions underneath the turret, but still a massive win for T1.
A massive win for them now. They have a really nice position to reset and then go and take the Drake. Ooh, Dove here.
Yeah, Faker. Potentially be in a little bit of trouble, but no.
He'll be all right.
Yeah, just wanders away. Did, of course, have the Rune Prison, so not likely that Dove will be able to close the gap in time.
That, you know, amount of like jungle proximity he's had for both teams feels great. It feels really intelligent, right? Blank comes over, then, you know, Owner is kind of hovering around. But this will always favor the Rise, who had lane prio and has, of course, Realm Warp. So you feel kind of safe as KT to farm under turret here. And the cost is so high if you don't actually do that, because you're going to lose even more minions than you've already lost. But the outplay is real here. It was a really nice Moonfall. And yeah, Dove's going to trade back a kill, but you still feel absolutely fantastic, because he can't reset that gold that already has gone over.
Really intelligent movement there from Gumayusi as well to make sure that the dice was used just to take him out and not to help him reposition to kill the rest of his team as well. So smooth movement there from Gumayusi, knowing that he was definitely the target for the Crocodile and wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be any extra collateral damage.
Blank is very greedily just going to go over here and take this Rift Herald blind, but he has a control ward to back up that there's nobody nearby, there's no vision on this, and was able to sweep out the pit itself. So it's not that greedy, but he gets away with it when he probably shouldn't have.
Oh.
T1 just looking to hover around this bottom side of the map.
As Noah once again in a rough spot. No heal, no flash as Carrier. Throw a barrel on top of him. Dove moves on over, knows that he was spotted. It looks like T1 aren't going to go for the dive. Captive audience to help clear out this wave.
That was really well played. You know, pretty pog wave clear there from Noah, you know, getting...
Yeah. I like Dancing Grenade. It's pretty satisfying. We have some very satisfying like wave clear champions in like Ryze, Diana.
Yeah.
Even the Varus, you know, you get a good piercing arrow through like a conga line of minions. Feels fantastic. Oh, getting it through a Jhin also feels pretty good if you're a T1 fan.
Sure. And, you know, this time T1's gamble, I don't want to call it a gamble, but their commitment, rather, to group up around the bottom side of the turret does not yield the same results. Despite the fact that Noah's had a really tough early game, he's only 500 gold behind. I feel like he's stemmed the bleeding quite well, all things considered.
I find it actually pretty crazy that Doran has a lead up there on the top side as the set into the Jace. I would have expected the Jace to have a better time in lane, but it has been Blank playing towards the top side a lot more in this game. We've seen, you know, multiple bot lane excursions here for Ona, so likely the reason why Doran's had a bit more space up there.
Yeah, I mean, he does get a plate now and pulls significantly ahead in that regard, but once again, Keria playing super aggressive down here right as the wave crashes through. They're really just trying to limit how much harm Jhin gets in this early game.
That's Chains of Corruption landing on the bottom side as Noah taken down to about 200, and Gumayusi wanting even more hail of arrows. Doesn't do too much as Guma decides to throw that piercing arrow towards Harp instead of the Varus. Here's the ult. It looks like Doran's in a whole host of trouble. Blank comes through though, lays down the red carpet for T1, and they'll use it to make a grand exit. T1 actually closing in on the bottom side though, because of course T1 did show on the top side. That is going to be Herald put down. Doran, a lot of eggs put into his basket, but in the meantime, T1 are just going to smash through this bottom lane. And we thought that the Jhin Rel was going to be a bit of a problem point as far as getting pressure, and it's shown that T1's played through that bottom lane very beautifully here in this early game and given themselves pretty massive advantage.
Yeah, I mean, now you have Faker pushing a wave into mid as well. Dove doesn't really get anything out of that rotation top. He is going to catch this wave, but that means Faker has total prio here on this Drake. They can just group up. And Harp is actually caught. Like, we're not watching that action on the bottom side, watching CS instead. But the Drake here is ripe for the taking now for T1. They could just group up, and there's just nothing that KT can realistically do to stop this, especially when Dove's going to lose a fourth of his health here.
Yeah.
And this should be a very easy take. So gold lead is pretty massive here for T1. Bot side's ballooned. Now you're going to get a Drake advantage. And the advantages that Doran had on the top side have kind of faded away. And he's not going to have the same value anymore in these fights because the Jace has also gotten his Eclipse online. And T1 just have all the advantages in the world at this stage.
Yeah. It's just 9-spike whip in for Doran as T1 going to close in onto Dove, who's going to pop the Dominus. Noah, of course, has a lot of range to help augment this, but the vision is good from T1. So they're able to keep themselves aware of all the different angles. Dove going to move himself back, but now has no ultimate. Equalizer's back available again as the Dragon continues to sleep there in the pit. Brambleback secured by KT. Once again, Noah in trouble. He's going to flash. Gets out of the way of the Chains of Corruption. Harp now goes golden, has to flash. There's the Magnet Storm as they look for Faker. Noah can't really engage onto this one as the curtain call is a little bit dangerous. In goes Dove though as Faker's going to get taken down. The Crocodile is angry and now is 3-0 as Keria has absolutely no mana. Avoids one of the harpoons but can't avoid the second. Here's the curtain call. Ona now in trouble as KT. They may have started to come online. Dove looking for Keria. Going to get closed in on by 3 members. And T1 just collapsed beautifully. A bit of a positional mistake there from Dove.
I mean, it's also the fact that Noah is trapped. He can't really come over to help because there's a wave crashing into his turret. So, you know, if he comes over and it doesn't work out and he loses all those minions, he finds himself even further behind. Now T1 are just going to grab these plates here in the mid lane.
It should just be the turret as well.
It was a little bit of an overextension from T1 for a moment, but when KT had their eyes bigger than their stomach there, decided to actually fully chase on and commit, they ended up getting a little bit split there. Positional error you mentioned, the fact that they don't have a Jhin there. But still, T1 do not take the Drake. They want to get as much gold on the map first before they think about taking this Dragon. Because T1 didn't actually have to push the issue there and rotate down for this, which is what cost Faker his life at the end of the day here. Because this could have just been an easy Dragon take, but they wanted more. They got greedy here. Faker realm warps down, and they don't realize that also Dove is on his way. Faker takes so much damage.
Oh, Blank's equalizer positioning there was actually fantastic as well. As Dove, he was beelining. Like, they could have killed anyone there. They decided it was going to be Faker.
And then Dove decides he can get Keria here. He's 4 levels up, but because he goes the wrong way here on the left side, the positional error, as you mentioned, is pretty bad, because if he goes to the right side, they just group up and take Drake. So some small errors on both teams'
If he doesn't get CC'd by the body slam as well, there's a possibility that he gets to just slice his way out, and then T1 find themselves in a man disadvantage. So, you know, there was a little bit of just better play from T1 in that instance, but Dove could have just not gone for it.
Yeah, and T1
that would have been fine too.
T1 also could have just not gone for that dive on the bottom side and could have just taken the Drake, but we're 15 minutes in, we're Drakeless.
Yep, and I think it's fine. I think T1 just playing for all of this plate gold in the first 14 minutes of the game makes a heck of a lot of sense, and now they have themselves, you know, close to getting towards a 4,000 gold lead, and at 15 minutes, that's brilliant, but this might change it as Carrier's in a whole host of trouble. So much CC available from KT, and the Gragas, no way of getting out of this one. It's going to be Shirley now as a possibility. Faker moving on over towards this Dragon.
There's no vision here whatsoever. They have a control word here. He's not actually going to be able to do this by himself. The timing of him starting that, a little bit awkward.
It's once again, though, going to be the outer turret priority, as T1 just going to move the Rise over there. It's going to be the Diana collecting the Drake. And so probably a decent trade for T1.
Oh, absolutely. Because they're going to get this turret, like you said. They get the Drake. And it's only the first one. I think it could have been the second one if things had gone a little bit different. But either way, it's still a massive advantage for him. And this Rift Herald here isn't going to be useful that much at all for KT. And
I mean, it's Shirley, you know, she's often the ignored child.
And KT don't have a comp here that can just sit back and go, well, we'll just play the late game. That's not actually what this comp does. So it's a problem.
Yeah, Doran used his Haymaker on the wave. That's an error, as Harp is going to come through. That's still a flash out, though, from Doran. Harp's going to get the memo that he needs to get out of there as well. Noah's going to turn up to the mid lane. Seems like he's perpetually on half health, as it's been a pretty rough game for the Jhin.
No, I mean, right now, Dove is trying his best to actually pick up the pieces of this game. Like, he's catching every wave that he can, but he's still, you know...
Oh, that dancing grenade feels real good.
He's 40 CS behind right now on Faker. Kana's going to get this turret. I mean, the whole map is just opened up for T1. They're just winning the macro game in every regard. And I think they could have even had a further lead if they had committed to the Drake earlier, but either way, like, they just have such an advantage, you know, if you look at every single lane. And yes, this is a pick onto Keria because he did get a little bit out of position. But picks like this are insignificant when all they lead to is one Rift Herald, when you don't get any turrets on the map, the plates are already down. Like, you've lost your opportunities to actually win these skirmishes with your Renekton comp early on. T1 are already starting to come online, so the Renekton comp is starting to fall over a little bit.
And also, I feel like KT, they need to be so decisive in upcoming fights, but it's starting to feel like the execution needs to be even better, given the fact that they're 4,000 gold behind. And at 17.5 minutes, that's actually a pretty big deal. And so they will need to get a priority target, lock them down, and this Rift Herald, all of their ducks need to be in a row. Yep.
This Rift Herald here is not very impactful at all, because it's not going to get a turret. There's no Drake to get prio for. Are they looking for a dive here?
I mean, at least they get a charge, right? We've seen Shirley's have a bit of a problem getting that one. So
it's just
I guess it's all right.
Faker is side laning for free while you do this, and you don't get anything out of it. In fact, you're going to lose your own turret. It's such a late response here from KT.
I mean, what are KT doing right now? At the moment, T1 had pressure in every single lane. KT were defending mid, and they threw down a Rift Herald and then lost their mid lane out.
Exactly. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm saying, Atlas. So I'm like, KT's not doing a whole lot of anything right now, and
it's like negative pressure. Oh god.
I would have rather seen a group up to try to kill Faker. But instead, they're going to look for Kana now.
They are instead going to kill Kana. He is well and truly unable to be in this part of the jungle. So that's a decent movement from KT. And their lockdown on a single target certainly has proven to be very strong. this game, but transitioning it to anything of note has been a struggle.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can only pick targets in the jungle, you know, you can rotate in and collapse on somebody 2v1, that's great. But what happens when we have these later 5v5 team fights is more concerning. If you can't ever win a straight up 5v5 fight, you'll never win in the late game anyways. You don't have any map control, so you're not going to be able to make those plays where you catch somebody in the jungle very often without vision either. So it's a small victory, but it's not leading to anything just yet.
Wow, Gumayusi does a lot of damage.
Yeah, he did get that Duskblade up pretty early. He's about to have his Muramana stacks completed.
Yep, Manamune completed already, and we've got a Serrated Dirk as the response to that Manamune, so definitely has quite a big advantage. As we're
This
going
is
to check out
clearing a ward. It's not his fault, you know, or rather, I mean, it is his fault, but it's not like a really crazy mistake. Just wanted to clear a little bit more vision away, but. We have Faker has his Zhonya's at this stage, fully stacked here, already has his Everfrost, so he's very difficult to kill.
I mean,
Owner is 4-0,
massive.
yeah. He has his Zhonya. It's like, how do you kill these damage dealers? Like, he's going for Dove.
Yep.
What's up?
Faker's going to look for it, as Owner's going to move on in. The flash comes out, so the Moonfall invested for absolutely nothing, but still.
You'll take that for a flash?
Yeah, exactly. That means that Gumayushi's going to be much safer. If there's actually going to be a fight over an objective. And look, not entirely sure whether that is going to be the case.
The fact that Faker has this Zhonya is so great for him when he knows that Kana has teleport, and as long as that's up, like, he can side lane pretty easily at any point without really feeling like he's going to die, unless there's a huge group up for KT, which if there's a huge group up for KT, then T1's getting more control on the map elsewhere. They've gotten such a great grip over the Summoner's Rift right now that it's really hard to imagine KT coming back because their comp doesn't scale great either. It's a lose-lose scenario. Maybe if they get a pick right before an objective, because the picks we've seen, both of them were not right before a really critical objective. Maybe that's one way back in. But I mean, look at this. T1 already have priority on this Drake.
Yeah, and if KT don't manage to get in, start things off, or start a fight straight away, then Shock Blast, Piercing Arrow, and all of this dangerous stuff becomes a huge problem.
It's about to happen right before our eyes.
Well, thankfully, they have started off the Drake at least, as there's a teleport and Blank's down to a third health. It's exactly what we were talking about. It's a really dangerous situation just to stand in front of T1 as Dove wants to actually start off the fight. It is going to be the Drake taken by Blank as Dove finds himself in amongst 5 and just absolutely obliterated. The equalizer doesn't do a whole lot. As Owner goes through to get a 3-man Moonfall, goes golden as well as now he's looking for Blank in the backline. Noah isn't going to be able to escape from this one. Blank survives, but he's the only one on KT, and yeah, you're not going to be able to do those, buddy. He has to flash away from the Jace in the end as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could say whatever you want about Cuz, but Warner has his own unique style. I love how aggressive he is. He's such a fantastic player when he's playing with Faker. You could see it here. I mean, he has such great control over the map. He's always pushing the envelope in terms of what his champion is capable of. Goes in deep, has his Zhonya's because he had that gold lead. To have it so early on in the game, Faker has his too, so you can just kind of face first into these team fights without really any threat of getting punished. And unfortunately here, this is just...
I mean, this is exactly what T1's comp was designed to do, right? Blank, they managed to get the Drake, and to be perfectly honest with you, fantastic work, Blank.
It's a really nice cast from Keria to set Dove up, and once Dove is dead, like, there's just no way out of this one. And then Wonder is like, I'm over the wall, baby! I got Zhonya's! And everybody's there to follow. Like, he's not afraid of anything because he's so fed in this game, and somebody could push their lead that far. Is the kind of jungle player that you're looking for. I don't know if he's going to be the mainstay per se, but I'm glad to see him get a chance here and absolutely carry. So watch his first-person view. That just goes straight over the wall. No flash needed. He can queue in. And he's got the Zhonya's, goes in, it's clean. And he's just basically like, you guys got me, back me up. And that's exactly what happens. And he's like, let's get out.
Very excited.
Such a sick moment for this player.
Yeah, he's 100% kill contribution as well at the moment, as certainly looking like a fantastic roster move for T1. As also has just been, it's like he's been in the solo queue hyperbolic time chamber for quite some time.
He's been unleashed.
Indeed, indeed.
Faker, you know, just going to stay here hovering around the mid lane when he's got waves, and everyone else is grouping up. It's a 4-1 style situation here. They don't have a great amount of siege, but there is poke here.
I mean, their comp is brilliant at Siege, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, yeah, but you have to be careful how you use it, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't want to be just sitting here blasting minion waves. You want to hit the champions if you can, because then you get potentially a pick, and then you get an inhibitor.
It's the counter dive that KT have in spades that they are respecting at the moment.
Yes.
So certainly something that you have to keep your mind out for. Magnet Storm Equalizer is still a decent combo, as Carrier is still shouting out to Deft & Co. from his old Dragon X roster. As T1 will just continue pushing.
Now you can really start to use your Siege to actually threaten those champions. You're in such a great spot here over the wall.
Oh, here's the big old flanking teleport from Doran, though. Let's see who he can pick up. It's going to be Gumayushi who immediately gets out of there. Equalizer doesn't do a whole lot, as Owner just does so much damage, can survive to what feels like forever. And yeah, T1's wallets are so heavy right now. Dove just gets Shock Blast to the face, and Hump and Noah are like, well, we tried, guys.
I mean, this might be a 2 Drake game. TWon are just going to push to win this.
This should
Duff's
definitely
out for
be
30.
over.
It's definitely over. Baron buff still up for 30 seconds, so good luck. Lower the curtain. I think this show's over.
I think that's what the curtain call means in this particular game. T1 making a bit of a statement here in this game. Is the telecom war often exciting? It went to 3 games last time around, but this first game's making it look pretty comfy for T1, as Noah's going to Gale Force himself in and take down the Varus, but he'll pay for it with his life. The Nexus goes down and T1 obliterate KT in game 1.
Big draft difference, I think, this time aroround, but the early game
that's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, the early game was so well played from T1. They limited Jhin so extremely. I mean, they even went to such extreme lengths that Faker ended up dying